Do you guys want a short speech? I mean, I know it's kind of late. I can either do it tonight, or I can do it for the closing ceremony. Speech. Okay. All right. This is
Jamie speaking. Jamie says speech.
Speech. This is the first time I've done speech with a bit of alcohol in me, so let's see how it goes. I feel loose, babies. All right. So one of the things that I've felt my whole life is that gratitude from the culture that we live in can sometimes be a little short. You know, and one of the things is I think that we're all philosophers. Everybody who works from first principles, everyone who talks about nonviolence, we all are philosophers. And the one thing that's very true about philosophers is they don't get a lot of sugar, they don't get a lot of love in their own time. It's true. Well, okay, except for you. Absolutely. You're handing it out like candy, and that's nice. But we don't get a lot of that juice. We don't get a lot of that love. Socrates got some hemlock. Spinoza was kicked out of his everywhere. I mean, Ayn Rand gets, even now, after being right for 60 years in a row, she still gets spat on by the main culture. So it is hard, wouldn't you say? I mean, look, we've all faced it, as you all had difficulties at work, you've had difficulties in your relationships because of your commitment to ideals. That's a hard thing to live with. So the one place that I go when I sort of need to feel replenished, strengthened. I mean, we have each other. For those of you who have people around, this is the beautiful thing about what's happening here. But I kind of go into the future in my mind. Because I think the world that we're trying to build, the world that we want to create, the world that we're laying the foundations for, that we may never live to see. I mean, I don't think we'll live to see it. Maybe those of you who had great sex last night, there's an egg and a sperm in there who may live to see it. Maybe. But I don't think we're going to live to see exactly the kind of world that we want. A world of statelessness, a world without war, a world without incarceration, a world without violence. I don't think we're going to live to see it, but that's all the more heroic, I think, for us to try to build it, even though we're not going to live to see it. So I go to the future and I think, you know, I'm so happy to live in a world without slavery in the way that it used to exist. I'm so happy to live in that world. And the first people who started talking about there being no slavery were like us. And the first people who started talking about women should be equal to men, kind of like us. And they faced a lot of opposition, they faced a lot of skepticism. I mean, the first guy who came up and said blacks should be equal to whites was not a popular man or woman. And he faced a lot of opposition from everyone around him, and the general culture spat on him a lot, and people thought he was crazy or mad or evil or bad. But we all take that stuff for granted now. And it's so impossible, you know, like moral change in the world. You stand below it and it looks like a cliff so high, a mountain so high that you can't get over it. You can't get through it. You feel like you're going to beat your head against the wall for the rest of your life and never make a dent. But then a weird thing happens when the change occurs. People get over that wall or they walk through that wall and then they look back and it's like there's nothing there. It's really strange. Before the end of slavery, people said, we've all heard these arguments before, right? People said, well, you know, there's never been a society without slavery. A society without slavery, you can't do it. You point to me a society where there's equality for women. You can't do it. You point to me a society where there's no government, and you can't do it. That's all we hear. Well, because we can see it, it will be here. It will be here. Because the vision is everything. Without the vision, there is no moral growth. We can't get over that mountain unless we see it so passionately and so powerfully that we can walk through that wall as if it's not even there, and then people will see that it isn't there. The barrier is only in the mind. So if you go to the future, which is where I go to, I think of the people 100 years, 150 years from now, at this gathering. Can you imagine how they're going to look back at this gathering? So those crazy motherfuckers, what the hell were they thinking? I mean, they have couple of hundred people and a microphone, some drinks.
2 turntables and a microphone.
And what are they looking at? They're looking at nuclear weapons and prison systems and aircraft carriers and police and military. What are they thinking? What are they thinking? Those crazy, brave motherfuckers. What are they thinking? How can they imagine taking it on? How could they imagine taking it on? But the imagination is everything. And they're going to look back to us and they're going to say, and this is what you need to hear, and this is what you need to remember coming down from the future. Thank you. This is what we need to remember every morning when it gets hard, when we get tired, when we read the newspaper and it's like nothing is fucking changing. We need to remember that rolling down from the future, from the people who will live in the world that we're only beginning to build, they are saying, as we say to everyone who came, we love to live in, thank you, everybody! So I'm going to tell you what I think they're going to thank you for, and you need to remember this, because this is what I see. They're going to thank you. The future is going to thank you for your courage. Your courage. It is hard, hard, hard work. Raising the moral standards of mankind is a hard fucking slog. And it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage because there's a lot of criticism, there's a lot of misunderstanding, there's a lot of fear that we face in those around us. When we shake the foundations of the moral universe that people live in, they freak out. They get frightened. They attack. And it takes a lot of courage. You know, we are all wired for social approval. We all want social approval, because if you didn't have social approval in the Stone Age, you couldn't even survive. As studies have shown, you know, that people who experience social disapproval, it's almost indistinguishable from physical pain within the brain. And that's what I mean by courage. That we have to fight against the natural conformity of our biological natures to go against the tribe, against their immediate short-term interests for the sake of a beautiful world to come. That takes courage. And people are going to say, looking down through the lens of time to this few, we happy fucking few, thank you for your courage, everybody who stands with us. Thank you for building this world that we love. It's really fun. They're going to say, I think, they're going to say, thank you for your love. For your love. Because, you know, there's a cheap kind of love in the world. And the cheap kind of love, government, oh, there's poor people, let's shovel some money at them. Oh, there's some people we think should be better educated, let's shovel some schools at them. That is cheap love. That is pseudo-love. That is fake love. The real love is to stand for principles of nonviolence, voluntary cooperation, and to love humanity, to know enough that if we set humanity free, the world can be beautiful. The world can be a paradise. The world can be utopia. We don't need the fucking guns to make the world a better place. The guns will make it worse, always.